Hey guys, Max Convexity here. Hope everyone's having a great evening. All right, let's look at some of these option trades. All right, I don't know if anyone's been watching my options basic class, but we've been making some paper trades, so I wanted to review those tonight. And I also wanted to talk more about the max convexity spread that I talked about on last night's show. I had some interest in it, and people have been asking me questions, so we can talk about that a little bit. I also want to talk about the two most important Greeks when it comes to options. I think the most important one is delta. The second most important one is theta. We'll talk about those a little bit. Um, yeah, I would just want to talk about the MC spread and some other stuff like that. All right, so let's start here. Let's start here. All right. So on my basic call option, where I have this call option sheet that I've been using to teach my class. We make trades. We use this sheet to look at the intrinsic and the extrinsic, etc., etc. Anyway, I made another page to it, which has the paper trades we made so far. Okay, let's pull up the chart here. The first trade was in QQQ. This was a good trade. I almost picked the exact top on this day. Let's see here. Do price. All right. Well, I didn't want to do that. Hang on. Move to new pane below. Okay. So here's the VIX on the bottom, or it's actually the VIX of VIX, the VIVIX, but in any event, what got us the first trade was the market was going up and making an all-time high right into here, and at the same time, VIX blew up for some reason. It means that people are buying protection. So I thought that maybe it was going to pull back. So we got a put right there, and then on the next day it opened down quite a bit, and we sold it and rolled out to one down here. But that one expired worthless because then after that the market went sideways, and then the next day after it expired, sure enough, what do you know? Boom! If I would have bought one extra day, I bought it was the 422 put. Let me see. I want to get this back on regular. Okay, yeah. I bought the 422 put. Here, let's just look at it here. All right. We got these two QQQQ 426 puts. Bought them for 87, sold them for 189 bucks or $1.89. All right, let's look at it right. We can look at it in here too. All right, QQQQ, long put. There it is, $102 profit. There it is, downside hedge because VIX is going up and it's concerning us a little bit. I did all this in real time. It cost 87, sold it for 189. And so we took our money, took our 102 bucks and put it in the profit, and then reinvested the profit in the 422 puts. Well, unfortunately, they were for the 29th. Okay, I didn't buy enough time because the 29th ended right. Well, actually, was mine expired 2 days soon. The 29th ended right there. So I missed to buy 2 days. I needed 2 more days of time. That's fine. Anyway, so that was a nice trade. Made 100 and then tried to roll it down to 422, which is right. We needed it to go right here, plus whatever we paid for it. I don't remember what we paid for it. But anyway, so we needed to go right here, and here's where it expired. Boom. So that's where our profit box started, was right here. We didn't make it. All right, well, that's fine. So then we roll along and we do a Tesla hedge, and that one actually worked out good. We bought the Tesla 9 puts. So let's see. Let's look at that one. Yeah, we got the Tesla 9 puts the day before it gapped down. So that one worked out well. On the day it gapped down, we bought 5 of them, then we sold 3 of them, and we still have 2 left. The 2 left are called runners, because the runners are hopefully going to run. We want the market to keep running down, and the runners will make money. That's the theory. You want your runners to run, but you call them runners because you take off part of the position to lock in your profit, and you leave the runners on so you still have some exposure to the downside if the market keeps going down. Looks like the market stabilized, and I bet you Tesla goes up from here. I'm tempted to say we ought to just sell those, but on the other hand, we bought them for 25 and we sold them for 60, so we made 35 bucks. So we took the 35 bucks. Well, so we have $35 profit, and we have 2 more left. Hang on here. This is wrong. We have 2 more left that we cost 25 a piece. So we spent $50. We made 35. The most we could lose is $15. So I say just hang on to this. Just hang on to those options because they don't expire till February. They're the 9 February whatever puts. Let's look right here. Save trades, expire or close, active. Oh, TLT came back. Earlier I was missing this one. Anyway, if you guys saw my update earlier, that one disappeared. Perfect. Okay, so here's the Tesla position. We had 2 tranches of puts. We had these 3. We bought them for 25, closed them for 60. 3 of them. That's a big profit. Or I'm sorry, I guess that was just 2 of them, and we have 3 left, I guess. Yeah. All right, I had it backwards on the spreadsheet. That was 2, so we have 3 left. So these 3 cost us 25 a piece. So we're in 75 bucks, but we already made a little bit of money on the first tranche. We made $35 times 2, so we made $70. We're break even right now. The worst we could do is break even, I believe. Yeah, because we're up $70 on this tranche, and this tranche costs us $70. So even if it goes to or 75, so actually we have $5 at risk. So we're just going to keep those Tesla contracts on because we have another 12 days. The market drops or something, it's a free trade, but it does look like Tesla's stabilizing. All right, well that's badass that the TRES trade came back. Let's look at the TRES trade. I had to manually do it. I had to manually fill out the option prices, but let's update the Valley of Death. Okay, that's the Valley of Death at closing. Here's the Valley of Death now. So I'm just going to put the Valley of Death at the close tomorrow because that's what the chart ought to be right for a day at a time. So the Valley of Death tomorrow starts at 94.61 and goes to 89.42. All right, so let me straighten out this other Valley of Death. Okay, so here's the new Valley of Death for tomorrow. We need to go to find 94.69. There we go. It went down to like 89.40 or something. We need this Valley of Death to be red. All right. $89. All right, you can see how the Valley of Death kind of changed over time. It was right here. Then the market moved up, and the Valley of Death moved up a little bit. The Valley of Death moved up a little bit, and then the market moved down, and now the Valley of Death moved down. The Valley of Death is changing as the passage of time goes by. We have short options and long options in this spread. And the short options are down here. It's the 93 call and the 93 put. These options were sold. So this option was sold for $1.69 and it's worth $3.35 right now, so that's a loss. That sucks, but this option was sold for 85 cents and it's worth 8 cents now, so that's a profit. But then this option was bought for $1.64, it's worth $2.92, so that's a profit as well. And this one's a loss. This option was bought for 79 cents and it's worth 20, so it's a 50-cent loss. But the options on top, the options that are long, there's twice as many of them. So that's why it's long volatility. But in any event, this trade's working out really nice so far. I think at some point this week they will roll this trade out. We shall see. Let's see what else we wanted to talk about. All right, the max convexity trade. Let's look at this max convexity trade. So let's do this. Let's build a bull put spread. All right. And let's do it on QQQ. All right. Let's do the same thing, but for a small trader. If they were trying to replicate the Defiance trade on QQQ, but they didn't want the Defiance risk. All right, so we sell a 65 delta option, right? This delta is 86 right here. The higher the delta, the further in the money it is. 50, you watch, if I put it right at the money, that delta will be a 50. Even before I look, I know it's going to be 50. Watch. That's 46. All right. This one will be 50 then. That one's 56 because the price is right in between the two strikes is the reason. The price is $429.15. But anyway, the at the money option is usually approximately 50. So we need to go in the money a few strikes to get to the 65. There it is right there. See that, 65. So that's the one Defiance would sell. Let's remove this. Here's the way Defiance would do it. Defiance would sell this option naked. And the advantage to that is the profit is 266 bucks. If you do it the max convexity way, where you add protection, you buy a put. I said the 25 delta, so we're going to go down here. 29, 22. Okay, so we'll take that. So you sell the 431 put. You buy the 426 put. Okay. You do it that way, you only make $207. So it's 20% less. So I think it's worth it, but that 20%, if you just want the maximum yield, the maximum way to get the yield is to do the naked. If you have enough money and everything, if you're just going for yield, if that's all you care about. If you do it the max convexity way, really it's stupid to call it the max convexity. I didn't mean to call it that. What it should be called is the less convexity. This trade right here is replicating Defiance's strategy, but it's a buffer on it. It's a buffer version of Defiance's strategy. So this is actually less convexity. I'm going to start calling this the less convexity trade. But it still could work for a daily income trade. You make about 20% less yield, but on a big down day, let's say the market's down 2%. Well, the market's down 2%. You're capped at $419 down. Okay, now the reason it's $419 is the difference between the strike prices, which is 431 and 426, which is 5. The most you could lose is 5, and then because it's in the money and you receive a credit, you can't even lose 5. You can only lose. Well, they charge you $500. You pay the margin on how far the strikes are apart, so that you could think of that as the most you could lose. In theory, that's the most you can lose, but because you received a big credit, the most you can lose on this trade is $293. So you're either going to make $207. Hopefully, if the market goes up here, you just need the market to go up 0.4 of a point by the close, which is to the strike price. If you watch my video, the sold strike is always where the max profit is. So if the market goes up 4/10 of a point tomorrow on this position, you make $207. However, if it goes down 7/10 of a point or more, you lose $293, which is the difference between the strike prices and, well, then less the credits you receive, because you receive the credit. If you received a $0 credit, the max loss would be 500. But they just charge you margin on how far the strikes are apart. You put the strikes 10 points apart, the margin would be $1,000. Watch that. There's $1,000 margin. And the max loss would just go up accordingly. The max loss would be $1,000 less the credits you received. You received $255 for writing this, because you're receiving $2.66, but you're paying out 11 cents. So the difference is $2.55. The closer you move them together, the less risk you have, but also the less income you have. You received $279 and you paid out $59, so that's $207. So it's just proportional. But you're just trying to avoid the big 1% loss. But in any event, this strategy will give you less income. So the reason they do it naked is because they are just trying to get the most income. And that is the way. There's no other way to get more income than just selling it naked, or more yield. Now that doesn't always mean the trade will work out. These big down moves cause big losses, but they get 20% more each and every day, because they don't have to buy this put back here. That's 20% of your profit going out the door. So there's a cost to it. And here's where else you can see the cost. The trade that I proposed doesn't have much edge in it. It's basically a coin flip. Because you can look at where the market is now, and you can see if the market doesn't move at all, if you'll make money. And if the market doesn't move at all and you'll make money, it means that your trade has an advantage. Okay? So, but you can see here, you have a lot bigger advantage if you just do the naked, because you have more of a buffer on the downside. You can lose almost 3/10 before you start losing money. When you include this one, you can't even lose 1%, and then you lose money. So you want this to be further over here. It means you have more edge. Another way to look at it is you can follow the Greeks. All right. So we've already talked about the Greek for delta, or we haven't really, but the higher the number, it means it's in the money. The 65 is the one we like to sell. 25 would mean it's out of the money. In this case, it's a 22, because the lower the number, the further out of the money it is. Delta means other stuff too, but we'll get into that later. But so you can also look at theta. Theta is how much time premium will disappear from this option tomorrow over the next one day. So that's $23. You'll make $23 in time premium on average on this option, because you sold it, and that's the theta. So you earn that theta, $23. When you buy an option, you have negative theta. You're paying theta. So this option right here, if we would have sold it, would have made us $21, but we bought it. So what we're doing is we're selling an option that makes us $23. We're buying an option that cost us $21. So our net theta is only $2. That's why else this trade doesn't have a huge advantage like the naked one does. The naked one mathematically is a better trade, and you have more of a built-in edge. For one thing, the market can go down further before you lose money when you're naked, and it can. Well, that's the main thing. Well, the other main thing is, and you earn $23 when it's naked. We only earn $2 worth of theta doing it this way. So the edge isn't near as big when you do it this way. But the reason I propose this is for people that are scaredies and don't like to lose 3 or 4% in a day. If they did this, this would cap your loss. Let's put it on NDX. Let's look at this. Let's put this trade on just like they have it on. Let's go to the spreadsheet. So for tomorrow, they sold 155, 17,700's at 94.91. Okay. We're going to exclude this one because they don't use the protection. What was it? It was 17,700, right? Yeah, it was this one. 63 delta. 17.7, it's okay for 94.91. Okay, so we're going to put the price is 94.91. All right, so this is Defiance's trade. They don't have this one on. I have that one blocked out. So on their trade, they're going to earn $9 a theta, or $900, where we were earning $23, because we were earning 0.23. They're earning 900. This is a lot bigger contract. They also going to do it. They're also doing it 255 times. So this is Defiance's position, and they're going to make $923 times 255. That's their theta. They're planning on earning all that time decay. All right, if they would put a 25, if they would do my spread, if they started doing my spread, let me include this one. All right, let's find the 25 delta. Let's see if they did start doing it this way. That's how Defiance would do it. Now we need to buy this 255 times. All right, so we bought that 250. So this is if Defiance did it the way I say to. Look, if it's basically a coin toss. You can see what you can see by where the break even. If the market doesn't move and you don't make money, you don't have an edge. You have an edge there because the market doesn't have to move and you're already making huge money. And in fact, the market can go down a little bit and you still break even. That's the asymmetry, or that's the edge that selling the option gets you. When you buy the protection, you forfeit that edge and you turn it into a coin flip. So I'm not saying that my way is the better way. Don't run out and do my way, but I'm just saying if somebody stuck a gun to my head and made me, I wouldn't do the put option in my own account, the naked put, because I wouldn't want to lose 3 or 4% of my account. It's a lot of money. So I would do it this way and forfeit the edge. Because when you back test it, even though you're forfeiting the edge, there's still this going back to 2006. This trade is a huge winner, but you don't have as much edge that's apparent by looking at the option calculator. Let's just say, because it's right. This is just 50-50. You could say here's your edge in this trade. Your edge in this trade is based on the fact that the market generally drifts up. I think the average day in the market's up 0.3%. So if the average day in the market's up 0.3% and you have this spread on all the time, you make $1.2 million, $1.3 million on average. That's your edge, and the other edge comes from, well, I guess that's it. That's your edge because you really don't make much time premium. You make $923 a contract there, but you lose $867 a contract. So you're making about $60 a contract now, if they're doing it my way. Whereas if they do it like this, then this has a big edge, and that's why that they're going for max yield. This is the better way to do it. Mathematically, this is the better way to do it. My way is just a different way to do it, and a way to do it perhaps if you had a smaller account, or if you were just a scaredy and you didn't want to lose so much. Let's see if they did it my way. Okay, let's see if they did it their way first. What would happen? All right, and they do it their way, and we have a 2% down day. Let's see what they lose. They lose $8 million. Oh, gosh. All right, so if we do it my way, we have a 2% down day. We lose $2 million, or 2.6, so it's about a third. Lose about a third, but I'm giving up a lot of that mathematical edge. We don't have much theta decay on our side, a little bit, $50 or $70 is still some theta. That's better than nothing, but I just wanted to show everyone it's not like, this is the be all and end all. This is just another way to do it. Let's see what else. Okay, the other thing that you would know about this strategy is if you did it this way, once the market was down 0.6%, which is right there, you were at max loss. So it doesn't matter if it loses 0.6 or 10 points. To you, it doesn't. But if it loses, let's say the market's down 0.3%, you lose $1.4 million. If you're doing it this way, market's up 0.3, you make $1.3 million. This is it basically turns it into a coin flip. I just like this structure more, and I wish they would offer us the structure just for people that want it. So here is the trade. So here's the back test from 2006 on NASDAQ, the MDX. Selling actually we want to sell the 65. Selling the 65 and buying the 25. Okay. 68% win. Premium collected 3,000. Let's take off the protection. We're going to have a higher win and a higher premium because we aren't having to buy the option. Yeah, the win's higher, like we would expect, 72 instead of 68. We're turning it into more of a coin flip. When I showed you, when we move the break-even line, more when we do a naked option, that is reflected in the 72 versus the 68. So the naked option is definitely superior, and instead of making 3, you make 4. So that's a third more. You get a third more premium. Now, in the back test, profit per day has to do with the total profit. It has to do where the trade ends up and if you have to buy the option back, et cetera, et cetera. So profit per day is at 150. So let's put the protection back on there, the 25 delta, 1 day till expiration, and let's see what the average profit does. But the edge is smaller. You can tell that because it's less premium. The more premium, the more edge. When you have more premium and a higher win rate, that other trade has more edge in it. This trade has less edge, but the profit per day is twice as high. And this is since 2006. So I'm not cherry picking or whatever. This is a pretty long back test. You're sacrificing premium. So the less premium you have, also the less buffer you have. Because you're buying the option, you don't have as much theta decay in your favor. You still have some theta decay, but not just a ton of it. But you can still have a higher profit per day. So think of the profit per day as kind of like the NAV of your investment. Or, the profit per day, the premium is what the yield in the investment is. So the other strategy that has 4,000 for premium, that's going to have more yield. But it had 150 on profit per day. So the profit per day is more akin to what would be the NAV. Okay, if somebody did this strategy, the yield would be smaller by a third, but the profit per day is about twice as high. So that the NAV would be, I don't know if it'd be twice as high, but I think it would have half the slippage or something. But this down here is the whole contract. This is the yield. This factors this in, but it also factors in where the option ends up at. But if you're just going for premium, if you just want to collect premium, this is the way to do it. Okay, so let me show you guys the max convexity. Last night I showed the max convexity bull a little bit. So I want to do a better job explaining how that would work. Okay, so on the max convexity bull, I said you start with the same. Well, let's just do it this way. Okay, so the max convexity bull, all we do is we buy 10 calls at the 10 delta. All right, so I'm going to switch this to a call. We buy 3 of them. It's the 10 delta. So something else delta means besides how far out of the money it is, it also means the odds of the stock being in the money at expiration. So a 10 delta, or the odds of the option, a 10 delta means this option has about a 10% chance of being in the money at expiration. That's why the at the money option, which is right in the middle, which is right where we are now, that's basically a coin toss, right? A 50-50 bet. That's why the at the money is a 50 delta. The 50 delta also roughly equates to the chances of the option being in the money at expiration. So a 10 delta or a 5 delta or a 1 delta would be long shot options. The lower the number, the longer of a shot it is. Whereas, a 60 delta would be slightly in the money, and a 40 delta would be, maybe a strike or two out of the money. So here's why we don't just do the call by itself. So if we just bought the call, but we didn't pay for it, I'm trying to show you guys that that put brings in a lot of premium. You don't have to use it. You don't have to pay a dividend with it. You can also use the put as a component in other strategies. You can use that $4,000 premium as a driver for other strategies. So let's just say if we bought 3, I just want to show something. I want to show why you don't just buy the calls, why you have to pay for it. To buy those 3 calls actually costs $1,500 on average. Okay? It does make a daily profit because the market goes up, but it costs you premium. So, but if you think about this, if you combine the 2 strategies, so we're still going to buy the call, but we're going to pay for it by selling one 65 delta put. So here's the max convexity Super Bowl. So remember, the put brings us 4,000 in. The call costs 1,500. So we're going to make 2,500. This is going to say 2,500. Okay, we have a 50% win loss rate. I thought the premium collected would be interesting. We still do have a good profit per trade, but there's no premium collected. I don't understand that. Oh, because I bought the put. See, it says +1 put. Bad trade. Okay, -1 put. Now watch this. This is going to say $2,500 positive premium collected. Okay, then it's not 4,000 because we're spending some of that 4,000 to buy the call to give us the upside convexity. All right, and look, I said 2,500 is 2,200. Okay, but look at the profit per day. The profit per day is 3 times what the max convexity, or it's actually called the less convexity. The less convexity hedge, which is just the bull put spread. Sell the 65, buy the 25. That you make 300 a day. On just selling the put, you make 150 a day. But selling the put right here, and then turning around and spending a portion of the proceeds to buy upside gets you 1,100 a day, and you still have positive premium collected. Any strategy with positive premium collected, you have an edge in, or it's an income strategy. The way these strategies are constructed are by selling options somehow, but the buying the 3 options was going to cost us $1,500 if we just did that. So we could sell the put and buy the calls in the same and make it a spread, and we could use the money from the puts to pay for the calls. So that's the whole idea behind the max Super Bowl. Let's graph this out here. So we're just going to forget about this one. Exclude. All right, we're going to add. We're selling the put. We're going to buy 3 times as many calls. So I wish they would do this. So we need to find the 10 delta. That's the 16 delta. So let's keep going out. 13 delta. Okay, there's the 10 delta. So so this is what this position looks like. Even though you have all that upside convexity, you still have an edge because the market could still drop a little ways, 0.2% or 1.5% before you lose money. There's still a little bit of edge in this. There's not as much edge as the other way because you spent some of your edge on the upside call. The good thing is we were up 1.5 on Friday. If we're up a point and oh yeah, well one thing, they do this in a 3-to-1 ratio, so they sold 255 of these puts. So if this was going to be right, it would have to be 765. If Jay and them did the Super Bowl, it would look like this. It basically would be about a toss-up on the, it's the 50-50 line's right there. But if you drifted up 3/10 or 4/10 like we do every day, you'd make $1.5 million, $1.6 million, $1.7 million. Okay. By the same token, if you went down 3/10, you'd lose $1.4 million, $1.5 million, something like that. Okay, but if you're up 1.5 like we were on Friday, they'd make $7 million. And occasionally there's days when we're up 2 points, they'd make $14 million. I'd love for a ETF to do. This could be called the max convexity trade. This trade has max convexity or has a lot of convexity. The other trade, though, just the put spread trade, watch. We're going to exclude this. This is just and we're going to include the put spread. That right there is less convexity. That is the scaredy cats version. You can still, get some of the same good things about doing the naked put, just doing it this way, but you give up a lot of your edge to do it that way. But you could sleep at night. The most you could lose is, in Jay and them's case, the most they could lose is $2.6 million. That's still a lot of money. And they lose that much, even if the market's only down 0.6%. That's not down very far. But so I was just trying to show it's not like they're stupid for never having done the put spread before. The put spread has drawbacks as well. And the main one being you don't have as much edge and you don't have as much yield. And these guys are going after just trying to generate the most yield possible. All right, so I just wanted to talk about some of that stuff. Okay, yeah, if anyone's trying to do this at home, remember these back tests were run on selling the option the day before. They aren't 0 day, so don't go out and do this. Don't anyone go do one of these spreads tomorrow morning because you need to hold it overnight. The overnight's where the edge comes from. They do this trade at like 2:45 in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, and they hold the short put all night. And then by the time the market opens up the next morning and then closes, the put's lost all its time value. So just know that there does look like there's edge in the back test, but it is from holding overnight. And also, most of the edge in the back test, we've already seen this, comes from the naked option. When you're buying the other option, you're giving up 9/10 of your edge. Still have a little edge, but you're giving up a lot of the edge. At that point, you're just relying on the market to go up, or pretty much. You're just at that point, your edge is the edge that the market drifts up most of the time. So when you do the naked put, you still have that edge of the market drifting up all the time. That's always under effect. But then you also have the huge edge from all the premium you're bringing in from all the theta. When you buy the other puts, you're canceling out some of your theta. All right, so we talked, okay, the two most important Greeks are delta and theta. Delta, so delta's right here. Delta means so this option's in the money. So here's another way to look at it. So this has a 63 delta. Well, that means it has a 63% chance of being in the money. I mean, at expiration, and that would make sense. And it would also make sense that this option that's way out here just has a 10 delta because the market would have to move from here up all the way to here. That's a long way. So the further out of the money it is, up, the lower the delta is. If you go down, then it's a negative delta, but that's delta is negative 25. If you go down further, this would be negative 13. The further away you go from the market in either direction, the lower the delta gets. Puts have negative delta, calls have positive delta, but let me get this back where it's supposed to go. All right, so let's look here at the max convexity bear. So I'm going to exclude these other. It's cool to look at what this $4,000 can do for you. You don't have to take this and spend this. Like, all they do is they sell this one spread and then they just pay it as a dividend. But there's other things you can do. I like taking the money earned from the short put and doing other stuff with it. Saying, okay, I don't want a dividend, or you can pay me half the dividend. So we're going to try to allocate half of this, but I want to be protected in case of a black swan. So that's how I came up with the max convexity bear. And so on the max convexity bear, you add a buy put. And it's a 10 delta, or a negative 10, because puts are negative, but I mean, you still call it a 10 delta. There's an 11. So there you go. All right. You add, and you do it just like the bull, you do it as a 3-to-1 ratio. So instead of 255, it'd be 765. Okay, so here's what the max convexity bear looks like. So let's talk about the edge first. The edge is where the break-even line is. It looks like it's about a wash. You have a little bit of, it's about a wash. It's just 50-50. If the market doesn't move, you made 50,000, it looks like. You might have a tiny bit of edge in this trade. Let's see what your theta is. You have 923 thetas here, but then you're losing 539 here, and you have 3 times as many of these. So you're losing like 16. You're negative 16 theta on that leg, and you're positive 900 on this leg, negative 16 on this leg. So you're net negative theta. This is not a theta decay type trade. And the reason you can tell that by looking is because you can see if it was a positive theta trade, you could look at if the market went nowhere, watch this. That's a positive theta trade because the market can go nowhere and you make 746,000. When the nowhere line when the market doesn't move and you're already in the profit, that means you're making money off time decay. When it looks like this, no longer making money off time decay. It's hard to tell exactly where that is, but in any event, okay, so if they did this trade, and this wouldn't be a smart trade to do probably, this would probably be a long-term loser. I don't know, but if they did this trade and they got a big down day, it'd be wonderful. Here's a 2% down day. 1.1 million. Here's a 3% down day. 10 million. Here's a 4% down day. 19 million. The problem with this is a lot of down days, they don't go down 2%. They go down 1.3%. Well, guess what's a 1.3%? That's your max loss, which is otherwise known as the valley of death. So this trade isn't perfect either. But if you knew this trade is not perfect, but if you knew a bear market was coming, you might, or if you suspected a bear market was coming, or not even a bear market, but you suspected a black swan was coming, this would be great protection. Because the idea is, because of all this money this short put is earning, you can do this without much cost. If you didn't have the short put, if I excluded that, and you just bought this out of the money put, it's way too much theta. You're negative 15,000 theta or 1,500 theta. At least when you do this, you're paying for some of the theta, because now you're only negative. Now the position's only negative. Watch, we can look at it here. Well, they have theta locked out. Anyway, you get my point. I'm just trying to show you guys how the option doesn't have to be. The short option can do all kinds of other stuff, and I think it's really cool to use the money from the short option and reallocate it either to buy some short convexity, the market crashes, or buy some long convexity. I really like the long idea better. This is because that, let's exclude that. But really, this is probably the best idea. Just selling the put and taking the money. But it's more fun. The max convexity bull is more fun to look at, the bull and bear. But I just wanted to show you guys the principle of using the income from the option to pay for other options. That's what hedge funds do all the time. They'll lots of times they might not even use the zero. They might go in the weekly time frame and sell options, sell a straddle or sell a strangle or something in the weekly time frame, and then use the premium off that to buy options in a different time frame somewhere and try to make money on the difference between the rate of decay in different time frames and do things a lot more sophisticated than I'm doing. I'm just trying to show you really simply how you can use the daily time frame, use the money that you earn, and reallocate some of it for to make a bull spread or to make a bear spread. But I don't really care if they ever come out with a fund like that. But they really they should just release this fund. There's no reason they can't do something like this. Why can't I get down here? How do I get my? Okay, there it is. Really, they should just do something like that. I don't care if they never do something like this. This would be cool, though. And I've even back tested all three of them. Watch this. You could do something like that. Now look at where the market is. If the market goes nowhere, you lose $1.3 million. Okay, and that's because you bought way more options than you sold. This is no longer a trade that's in your favor. Because now you need the market. If you need the market to do something, that means you're paying time decay, and it means you don't have an edge. Because you need the market to go up 3 or 4 tenths of a percent, and then you make 372,000. And if you can get up more than 1.2%, you make in the millions. But if it goes nowhere, you lose. So this if a ETF ran this strategy, they would be a decaying ETF. They would reverse split and go to zero and reverse split again. This is like CYA or TAIL. This would not be a good long-term proposition. Let's back test this real quick just for fun. Yeah, because then they need it to go down more than $1.7 million or up by more than 3 or 4 tenths of a percent. So let's back test this and see what happens. So we're going to sell the put, and we're going to use the sold put to pay for 3 calls. Hang on, let's look at something here. We have double protection. We don't need double protection. It'll make our valley of death deeper, but watch this. I'm just going to exclude. Because we have enough protection for this one. We don't need both of those. All right. But that would be a variation you could do on it. That'd be an even safer. But anyway, and also you don't have near as much negative edge. You only lose 600,000 if the market goes nowhere instead of $1.3 million. This extra option down here is really costing. So we're going to exclude that one. So we're just going to take this put, and we're using the income off it. This fund wouldn't even pay a dividend. It would just sell the put every day and use the income to buy 3 calls and to buy 3 puts. So this would be the max convexity, extra upside and extra downside trade. So, but let's back test this and see how it tests. I don't think it's going to be very good. Okay, so we sell a put, 65 delta. We buy 3 calls, and then we're going to buy 3 puts, the 10 delta. All right, run strategy backtest. Okay, well, yeah, this actually tests all right for some reason. It tests better than the other ones, but so premium collected instead of 4,000, you can still do this strategy according to this back test and collect some premium. You collect about a third of the premium. So in theory, if a fund did this strategy, in theory, if this back test is right, they could still pay a small dividend, about a third of not the max dividend, not 60, but maybe more like 15 or something. Okay, but I'd take a fund that paid 15 and could average 2,000 a day. You would have black swan protection, and you would make money on big up days. You win 66% of the time. I mean, that's not the worst looking. So I need to think of a name for this fund. Um, this max convexity, best of both worlds. Best of both worlds is this would be this one. This trade, once again, though, you don't really have any edge in the time decay because if it goes nowhere, you lose 645. But this trade would still work out because on most days the market drifts up 3 or 4 tenths. So boom, so that means on most days you would make that, and then occasionally you get the outlier day to the upside and you make several million, and maybe 4 or 5 times a year you get a 2 or 3% down move and you make 6 or 8 million or something. Those don't happen very often, but occasionally. Occasionally, look at this: 3.5% down move, and this fund would make 13.5 million. Wow. Let's see, unrealized loss. I was going to look at these stats here. Break even, unrealized loss. Oh, max loss. So $6 million is the most you could lose on this. I was trying to see what they would charge you for. What would they charge you to put this on? But well, that's a good question. I wonder what they would charge you to put this on. Interesting. Well, I'm not. I was going to look on Tasty Trade and see what margin Tasty Trade would charge us to put that on. Anyway, that's a pretty nice back test. Not that one. It's a pretty good looking back test on the best of both worlds trade. $2,000 a day. I'm going to need to check this on a better back testing engine. But that would work. 66% win rate. The median day, you don't have any profit. The median profit per trade, 0. The median profit's going to be higher on trades where you don't buy the extra option. On the median profit's higher on trades where you have a true edge. Let's do this. Let's knock the options out there. All right, let's just do the put by itself to get a baseline. Yeah, and you have a higher median. It brings down the median to buy anytime you're buying options instead of just straight selling them, you're hurting your stats. But yeah, this is max yield, but not necessarily max profit. Profit only 150 a day. The yield 3 times as much. So here's with just the call. %66 win rate, yield half as much, profit 3 times as much. Median still 0 on this one, or median 0 on this one. And then let's add the put in there, or the 3 puts at the other end. Not much premium, more profit. So anyway, all right. Well, I'm gonna let you guys go. I appreciate you guys letting me geek out on options here for a little while. showed you the edge. We'll talk about a better alternative to the themes strategy. I don't like their I don't like the strangle. Not doing it every day. I like strangles, but not as a systematic trade. I don't see that working out systematically. It might be great to play tactically. You could buy the themes ETF if you expect a slow market or you're trying to play chop, but I just don't think that one's going to be a set it and forget it. And I'm going to show a better alternative to that, but I'll do that in the next options lab course. Anyway, like I say, thanks for listening, and I appreciate it. And you guys have a wonderful what's left of your day. All right, take care.